Dear students, welcome to the session 4 of Unit 2nd of Human Resource Management of first BCom second SEM. I am Dr. Sudarshan P. here before you to present a topic titled Factors Affecting Human Resource Planning. In the previous session, I told you about the various processes that are involved in the human resource planning process. By following those steps or processes, we can formulate a human resource planning in an effective manner. There are many factors affecting human resource planning. They are classified into following categories. ಹಿಂದಿನ ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಮಾನವ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಯೋಜಿಸುವಿಕೆಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಯನ್ನ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿವಿ. ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವ್ಯೂವಿನಿಂದ ಕೂಡ. ಈಗ ಈ ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಮಾನವ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ಯೋಜಿಸುವಿಕೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಪರಿಣಾಮ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಬೀರುವಂತಹ ಅಂಶಗಳು ಯಾವುವು ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಅಂಡರ್ ದಟ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್, ಮಲ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನೇಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಕರಿಬಹುದು. Workers from different countries travel to other countries in search of job. When a company plans its HRP, it needs to take into this factor also. So in the present business scenario, job seekers are from different countries or different parts of the world. So if I am making a plan, human resource plan in my company, I have to consider this fact carefully because most of the companies are working as multinationals. Therefore, the recruitment process also enhanced or the broadened to international level. So HRP needs to take into account this particular factor also. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಲ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ರಿಲಿಜನ್, ಕಾಸ್ಟ್, ಕ್ರೀಡ್, attitude, perception, right? So while having or formulating HRP, we have to consider it in a broader perspective. Okay. Point number 2, shortage of skill due to labor turnover. The human resource plan will change constantly. Many new appointments will take place in the industries having high labor turnover rate. This also affects the way HRP is implemented. So human resource planning has to consider another aspect in present business organization, that is labor attrition or labor turnover. Today, most of the candidates are not continue their employment in a particular organization. If they are finding good opportunity, definitely they will switch on to another company. So the talented group normally quit the existing company and joins another company. In another words, we can say so, right? Therefore, while making human resource planning, we have to consider that labor turnover and we have to go for frequent recruitment. Then there should be a chance for making such adaptation in the human resource planning. The third factor is organizational changes. As I said earlier, nothing is permanent except change. Change takes place within the organization from time to time. The company may diversify into new products, close down its business in some areas. In such cases, human resource planning process, that is appointing, removing people, will change according to situation. So we cannot predict whether the expansions takes place in our company, or we cannot predict exactly the expansion of our company or closure of some of the units of our company. That may happen, and we can have control over the internal factors which will influence on our business, but external factors which are normally beyond the control of an individual organization or business enterprise, how we can have control over them? Therefore we have to adjust with such external environment. Sometimes there may be a loss incurring unit that normally force us to close down the doors of that unit, and as a result there will be surplus human resource, and then we have to take a decision whether going for termination or to expand another or create another unit or diversify the products. These challenges will be there for every organization. Take the example of 2020-21. Most of the companies are facing this particular problem. Earlier, attrition was biggest problem. Now, removal of people from the job is the biggest problem. It is caused by that COVID-19, right? That we have not predicted in the long back. So such a situational approach has to be considered or to be taken while framing human resource planning, right? But some aspects can be predicted, some aspects cannot be predicted. Therefore, organization changes like expansion or closure of business units, that it to be considered while formulating human resource planning, or it will influence on that process. Then demographic changes. Demography means relating to people. Demographic change refers to things referring to age, population, composition of workforce, etc. A number of people retire every year. A new batch of graduates with the specialization turns out every year, and we have to fill the vacancy that are created by the retirement or any other reasons. Then what we have to do? We have to find the talent pool normally who are coming out of educational institutions or training institutions with some sort of specialization every year. So our human resource planning is directly affected by this particular factor. Fifth one, pressure groups. Company has to keep in mind certain pressure group like human rights activist, and we have to consider that also. Then women activists, media, as they are very capable for creating problem for the company. When issues concerning these groups arise, appointment or retrenchment becomes difficult. See, most of the cases, our human resource planning is influenced by these external factors. Though they are not directly connected with our company affairs, they are indirectly influence on our human resource planning process, or such factors will influence, right? If you are not following roster system, if you are not giving due concern to women employees or candidates, even while appointing or during retrenchment, there may be certain such type of issues that are to be taken into consideration while having human resource planning process. Next, sixth one, legal and regulatory changes. Employment law is the most significant sector of the legal system or law relating to employment that affects human resources planning and it changes all time. So law is not static; it always dynamic. So it law is changing from time to time depending upon the situation in the society and or economy. Therefore, these regulatory aspects or legal legal and regulatory changes will influence on human resource planning of any organization. Next is type of organization. The type of organization determines production process and number and the type of staff needed by that organization. Nature of organization is important factor in case of the formulation of the process of human resource planning. Manufacturing organization have a more complex structured compared to service organizations. So we have to consider the type of organization or nature of organization while formulating human resource planning process. Next one is environmental uncertainties. There are certain environmental factors which are out of control for the management. As I said earlier, during COVID, especially 2020-21, though company requires human resource for carry out the different activities in the company, most of the companies are not gone for appointment process because they expected uncertainties in the market and economy. As a result, human resource planning process of that company also affected adversely. Next, employment status. HR is affected by employment situation in the country. In countries where there is a greater unemployment, there may be more pressure on the company from government to appoint more people. So, depending upon the economic situation which is prevailing in the country, the pressure will be there on human resource planning process, even from the side of the government. If supply of labor is more than the demand, then there will be pressure from candidates, governments, and all other stakeholders to appoint or recruit employees for the organization. Next one is technical changes in the society. Technology changes at a very fast rate and new people having required knowledge are needed for the company. In some cases, company may retain existing employees and teach them a new technology and in some cases the company have to remove existing people and appoint new one. So this is another challenge to any human resource planning process because for example in case of banking industry, what happened in India after automation, the existing employees were trained in the new technology or handling computers or all other banking related aspects they trained, but some people were not fit to organization after the automation or computerization. Then normally they quit the organization and the company has to go for ದಿ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಹೊಸ ನೇಮಕಾತಿಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ನಾವೇನಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಲಾಂಗರ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ we are not in a position to adapt ourselves to the changing technology because the old generation or say those who put the 20 years of service in the organization, they are all belonging to old category. They are not born in technology like the present youngsters. That means present younger candidates are born in technology, but people like we are not born in technology, but we are migrated to technology. Therefore, we may not have good grip on these technological aspects, right? So technical changes in society, if it is very fast, then it definitely affects the human resource planning process. Next factor is outsourcing. If a company is outsourcing its major activities, then the recruitment rate or human resource requirement is comparatively less. On the other hand, if the company is not outsourcing much, then more human resources required. Nowadays, it is a trend that many companies or organizations outsource many things as they can reduce the cost or time or both. I observed in Infosys, even food supply or food courts are outsourced, and all Infosys is not having its own transport facility. It has outsourced this particular activity. Such outsourcing may include security, services, canteen, office, assistants, system supporters, maintenance employees, etc. Such outsourcing will directly affect human resource policy because human resource planning process, because we need not appoint much employees on regular basis as we have gone for outsourcing. Then time horizon. Another major factor affecting personal planning is the time horizon. A plan cannot be for too long on a time horizon as the operating environment itself may undergo changes. So you have to plan the human resource requirements carefully or diligently because the time horizon, right, changes depends on operating environment. On one hand, there is changes on one hand. There are short-term plans spreading 6 months to 1 year. Therefore, we have to have strategic plan. Again, we have to have action plan, right? Short-term plan to assess the human resource requirements and maybe human resource surplus depending upon the situation. Okay, in this session, we studied about the factors affecting human resource planning process, right, or planning. So these factors are to be considered by human resource manager while doing human resource planning. Otherwise, planning will be on paper only and it cannot be implemented because of these practical aspects which will affect human resource planning. With this, we concluding this session. Thank you.